My dad said, "You're not my son, you're just a bill." Now he's calling every hour. He slid a statement across the table. Notarized. There was a number where my name should be. I packed in silence. The dog followed me out. I called Mom. She didn't answer. Not then, not after. I sold plasma to pay rent, slept behind a boxing gym, 6 years. No voice, no birthday, no past. Then he left a voicemail. "Just checking on the loan." Now he calls from burner numbers. I don't pick up, but someone else does. My lawyer. I wish I could say it came out of nowhere, but truth doesn't work like that. It started with a quiet breakfast. Dad made pancakes, the kind with that artificial syrup he always said was better than the real stuff. He barely looked at me, but he never really did. I was finishing up my eggs when he slid a manila folder across the table like it was a check at a business lunch. "Sign here," he said. I looked down. Neatly clipped, triple stamped, notarized. Not even my name. Just a string of digits, a 6-digit number, a reference ID, where my name should have been. "What is this?" I asked. He didn't blink. "You've cost me $78,541.62, he said. I itemized it. I kept looking at the paper. It had bullet points, hospital bills, camp, a sports league I quit halfway through in 7th grade, my braces. "You're not my son," he added. "You're just a bill." He said it with the kind of finality people save for eulogies or last rites. I didn't scream. I didn't even breathe heavy. I just stood up, walked to my room, and started packing. No bags, just the basics. Hoodie, 2 shirts, socks, my high school diploma, and the photo of my mom from when she was still around. I didn't say anything to him. I didn't have to. Our dog, Ringo, followed me down the driveway. I turned and told him to go back. He just sat down. I couldn't make him leave. Neither of us looked back. When I got to the bus station, I tried calling Mom. No answer. Called again 3 days later. Then again, a week later. Still nothing. I stopped calling after the 5th one. That silence was louder than anything she could have said. That night, I slept behind a boxing gym 2 towns over. The air smelled like rubber gloves and old sweat. I kept my backpack under my arms like a baby. Ringo slept curled against my knees. We didn't say it, but we both knew we were in for something worse than we imagined. The thing about sleeping on concrete is you forget you have a spine. Pain stops being sharp. It becomes fog, a kind of hum under everything. But you adjust. You survive. I did. I sold plasma to eat, twice a week. The nurses learned my name. Kyle. I wasn't Kyle, but his name was still in the system from the last guy who tried to hustle his way through rent. Rent. That was a joke. My rent was silence and sore arms and trading cans for quarters. I lived behind the gym, then in it. The owner, Mickey, was a war vet with a busted hip and a quiet temper. He found me cleaning up wrappers from the alley one night and let me crash in the locker room if I mopped the floor before 6 a.m. I said thank you, and he just grunted. Ringo licked his hand. That was the closest to a contract we ever had. 6 years passed. Not 6 good years, just 6. No birthdays, no holidays, just time. Fist after fist, blood, cold showers, job interviews that ended when they saw my address was N.A. I kept busy, cleaned gloves, handed out water, I even sparred. Got my nose broken once. Mickey taught me how to throw a right hook without losing my shoulder. He never asked questions. Then one morning, I got a voicemail. "Hey, this is your dad. Just checking on the loan." Click. No hello, no mention of the folder, just those 7 words, like I was a vendor whose invoice was overdue. I didn't call back. I didn't scream. I just stared at Ringo and whispered, "We keep going." But the calls didn't stop. They started coming in from unknown numbers. then potential spam, then numbers with different area codes. Texas, Idaho, Arizona. He was hiding. From me? From himself? I didn't care. I stopped answering. But I listened. Just checking on the loan. Hey, following up. One time he left a voicemail that said, "Not sure why you're avoiding this." I wanted to laugh. Not because it was funny, because it was cosmic. He burned a bridge, blew up the road, and now he was wondering why I wasn't crossing back. But then one call came from a local number. A woman's voice. Calm. Measured. "Mr. Owens, this is Natalie Pierce with Pierce & Lowe Legal Services. I represent someone who believes you owe him a formal response." I froze. For the first time in years, I felt the blood leave my face. Not because I was scared, but because I knew that tone. That wasn't a debt collector. That was someone who plays chess. I didn't know how he found me. Maybe Mickey. Maybe a DMV record. Maybe a stroke of luck. But I knew one thing. He wanted something. And I was finally in a position to give him what he gave me. Nothing. Natalie Pierce was everything my father wasn't. Direct, honest, sharp. She had this way of listening without interrupting, like her silence was louder than most people's noise. We met in the back of a diner. She slid a folder toward me, just like he did years ago. But hers was different. Lighter. Thinner. "This," she said, "is the notarized agreement your father submitted as evidence." I looked. Same digits, same itemized list. But now with an addendum. He'd attempted to submit it in court as a binding debt between provider and recipient. "Technically," she said, "he tried to register you as a debtor." I laughed. I couldn't help it. A real laugh. Not bitter. Just absurd. "He actually thinks I owe him for being his son?" She tilted her head. "Not quite. He thinks he was your landlord, your investor, and your caretaker, and that you failed your end of the deal." "And what do you think?" I asked. She paused. "I think your story would destroy him in a courtroom." Silence. Then, "I'm in," I said. The legal process was slow, but thorough. Turns out, trying to invoice your child for being alive doesn't go over well in civil court, especially when there's a 6-year gap in communication and documented evidence of the plaintiff's hostile conduct. My father was served at his job, the same accounting firm that gave him Employee of the Decade in 2007. I saw the footage. A process server handed him a thick envelope while he was eating a Caesar salad in the break room. He blinked once, then twice, then dropped the fork. He called me that night. I didn't pick up, but Natalie did. She put him on speaker. I sat across the table, staring at the wall behind her. "Kyle," he said. My real name. First time in a decade. Natalie didn't say anything. "Look, I was angry," he continued. "Your mother left. You stayed. I didn't know what to do. The numbers were all I had. I thought if I made it transactional, I could control the pain. That maybe..." He stopped. "Maybe what?" Natalie asked. "I thought maybe he'd come back. If I gave him something to reject." I looked up. Something cracked in his voice. A place where ego used to be. But I didn't speak. "You don't owe me," he said finally. "Not money. Not words. Just wanted to say that." Click. We didn't sue. Natalie advised against it. "He's not worth your energy," she said. But she helped me do something better. We filed a legal declaration that permanently severed all financial, legal, and custodial claims he might try again. I wasn't his debtor. I wasn't even his son. Not in the eyes of his own documents. It felt clean. Mickey threw a small party at the gym. Ringo got a steak. I got a job offer from one of Natalie's clients. a nonprofit that works with emancipated youth. They liked my story. They said it would help others. Sometimes I still get calls. Unknown numbers. Ones I don't pick up. But I don't need to anymore. Because someone else always does. My lawyer. My friend. The one who slid a folder across the table, and this time gave me my name back.